If anyone would like to move up front, feel free to do so. We tried to take care of all the sunny glare earlier. Did we succeed? Now we just have to figure out how to turn the TV on.
It was on before, I promise.
So good morning, and thank you for joining us today, and happy Father's Day to everyone out there who is a father in one way or another. Okay. As usual, we arrived on Saturday night after we unloaded, or after we drove 12 hours, we unloaded all of our donations into the center of the room there. And then, as you can see, we had a lot of bags, as usual, and a lot of things donated from our local friends and church families from around the community. And as usual, a lot of snacks and candy from our friend who works at M&M Mars. The things we brought with us were the typical, I'm not going to sit here and read the entire list, but a lot of shirts, sweatpants, jeans, shoes, sleeping bags, some tents thrown in there. I don't know, I'm trying to think of the most random thing. I don't know, probably the favorites were the combos and the candy.
So, good morning everybody, happy Father's Day. I thought I'd just bring a little bit of news from Back Bay of things that have happened since the last time we heard speaking about it. One thing that happened is that homelessness across the state of Mississippi has increased 20% between 2024 and 2025. And that makes the situation down there even more dire than what it had been in the past. And it seems like it always gets worse. And for other reasons that you'll see later, it's even more so. Demand for the food pantry has gone up due to rising food costs. And it affects two bunches of people. One is the people who were not clients before the food pantry who now find themselves in need of that help. And others are current clients who previously got a portion of their food at the food pantry and now have to get a larger portion of that because the dollars that they have to spend on their own don't go quite as far. And one big legislative change that happened in Mississippi was that as of July 1st of last year, there's a no camping law, meaning you're not allowed to camp or stay overnight at any public place that's not designated for that purpose. So that means any of the city sidewalks, parks, any of those places, no one's allowed to stay there. And the rule is they're given 24 hours after notice, they get kicked out. And it's punishable by a fine of $50 or 6 months in jail. So this makes the already tiresome life of a homeless person or an unsheltered person even more exhausting because they're constantly moving from place to place with all their belongings in the world on their back or in a cart or in a suitcase. So we learned that before we went down there that the Micah Day Center will be closed on Monday due to the Martin Luther King holiday. We already knew that they don't serve any food on Thursdays, so that means there was a 7-day stretch where they're only going to get food 3 days. Loaves and Fishes still exists. They're not part of their Back Bay mission. They were taken over by the Catholic Charities at another facility. And many of the clients at Back Bay, for whatever reason, choose not to go there. They don't feel safe there, or for whatever reason, I don't know what they are. So that didn't sit well with us, that people were not going to be able to eat. So we went to Walmart on Sunday and got a bunch of food. We were able to prepare 52 bag lunches for folks to be able to eat the next day. So since the Micah Center was not open on Monday, we went out to find people. So we threw all those lunches along with a bunch of bottled water into the van and drove around and found people to give them to. we didn't have to go far. Many of the people that are clients of Back Bay, they stay within a couple blocks of the campus. So it didn't take us long to find some folks. You can see here, that's me just having given a lunch to someone who needed it. And they had a good lunch. It was a deli meat sandwich, some fruit, some snacks, and a cheese stick. Some people stay underneath the overpass, and we found a person there. One person we did find, we've talked, and Elizabeth has talked about a friend of hers, Mishi, is the gentleman here in the picture. Last year we told you that he had gained housing, and we helped deliver some bedding and some other items to his house when we were down there. But we ran into him on the streets when we were passing out the lunches and learned that he had lost that housing. And that's something that often happens. Mishi is a good guy. He still has a job. He's a dishwasher at one of the casinos nearby, and he's got a big heart. So what he does is he lets other people stay at his place, and that's not allowed. And the people who were in charge, the landlords, they didn't look kindly upon that, so they had to evict him. So he's once again out on the street. So that's one example how homelessness kind of recreates itself. It's very difficult for someone who was homeless, who gains housing, to remain that way. It's a constant struggle. Once we had exhausted all the people that were in the immediate area, we asked, hey, where can we find more people who might need some food? They said, well, go down by this one casino, and there's some property down there where there's a homeless encampment. So we went down there. Elizabeth stayed in the car because it was on a pretty busy road, and I took a milk crate full of lunches and went into the woods where they said this place was, and I found a little tent encampment. Apparently, this is part of the Keesler Air Force Base property, and they have chosen not to enforce some of the camping laws that exist. They just let them go. I don't know if it's conscious, saying, come here and camp. I don't think they do that. They just don't enforce those laws. So there's a little tent city of 12 to 15 people down there, and we found some of them. One of these guys was repairing bicycles for other people. He had a little, I can't believe he had a little bike shop there. He had several bikes and some parts and some tools, and he was repairing bicycles. One of the guys told us that that was the best sandwich he had ever had, and he could tell it was prepared with love. And it was a good sandwich, but it was a deli sandwich. And, they really appreciate that. One of these guys shared a story, which was that his wife, who was chronically ill, finally passed, and she was the main breadwinner of the family, and he had no means to support himself. So he found himself outside, homeless.
So, as you have heard in years past, one of my favorite things to do there is to pass out the warm clothes and just interact with the clients at the Micah Day Center. And so I try to take pictures of things that represent Ohio State, IU, Purdue, Baxter. And as you can see, one of the things here too, this guy is sporting quite proudly, was the Batesville Casket Cup sweatshirt. And I try to make it fun. I kind of try to model it a little bit, and I say, hey, if you come get this IU sweatshirt or this Ohio State hat, you gotta get your picture taken with it. And some people don't want their picture taken. I say, I'm not gonna put it on Facebook, I'm just gonna show it to my church. But some people are like, no. But some people are like, yep, I'll take that hat. And they proudly display it. And so anyway, it's pretty fun. And everyone down there was totally into the IU thing. Anytime they saw that we were from Indiana, they were very much into it and proud and say, hey, congratulations, go Hoosiers, go IU. So it was really fun this year. That's never happened before. So at Loaves and Fishes, they served breakfast and lunch. Well, the Micah Center now is only serving lunch. But I just thought, well, I don't know, certainly there's a way that we can serve breakfast. So I asked if we could do that, and they're like, sure, if you want to go and buy it, and you want to fix it, and you want to serve it, you can. So I went around and hunted and found enough for 3 days worth of eggs and sausage that was like about to expire. And if you served it, like with the next few days, it was good to go. So we went over and fixed breakfast every day. It was funny, Raisha, the day director there, she said, now, y'all don't get spoiled with this, because this is not going to be the way it is. Mr. Dan and Miss Elizabeth are spoiling you. This is not going to be how it is all the time. But sometimes I think the volunteers do step up and do a little bit more than they have to, but they're certainly not expected to. As you know, too, one of my favorite things is to pass out the candy that my friend donates, and that is because these people, as you can see the day before, they were getting sausage and eggs for breakfast. You didn't get to choose. I don't want sausage, I want bacon or something else, or I don't want eggs, I want a pancake. There are no choices. You're given what you're given. But so I try to prepare the candy as nicely as possible on a tray, and I go around and I serve it to them, and they get to choose. And I don't know, that just brings a smile on their face that they got to get a big piece of candy that says share on it, but they don't have to share it, and they got to choose it themselves.
So the gentleman you see here in the van next to me, his name is Willie. And we met him during the week, and he was a frequent volunteer at Back Bay, as well as a client. And he had just gotten out of prison. He was incarcerated for double-digit years, anyway. And he recently been deemed eligible for an inpatient residential drug addiction treatment facility. And that's not a small deal. That's a big deal for someone to be eligible for that. So this day, he was helping us move some items from Back Bay to a different facility, some heavy items. And so we got to know him a little bit. We helped him have a dinner with his son, whom he either, details weren't clear, he had never met or hadn't seen in a number of years, and lived 3 hours away. He was coming down to see him before he checked into this treatment facility. So we helped him do that. He was very excited and very anxious about this. And the reason I say it's not a small deal is you have to, in order to become eligible to go to a treatment facility, some of you may know this, you have to express a desire to get clean. You have to display that you can do that on your own for some time before they let you in. So it was a big deal for Willie to do that. And we've learned that since then, he successfully completed the program, moved to Pascagoula, and now has a job. So that is a good story that we're happy to share with everybody here. Those don't come often, but they do come.
And as you can see here, I'm with Tina in the parking lot. And it's just a lady that I've seen, I think, nearly every year that I've been there. And she is part of the Vietnamese population that's there, and she does have a job, but it's a seasonal job, so this time of year she doesn't have a job, so she's still trying to make all of her payments and make things work. So she comes to the Micah Day Center to fill in those gaps. What else?
All right, so this next guy, we saw him throughout the week, and he didn't really fit the mold of the typical client of Back Bay. He was younger, he was well-spoken, he seemed educated, but he was living out of his car, and he was there all the time helping out and taking advantage of the services. His name was Nathan, and we have learned since we came back, and he had a drug issue, that he was eligible for his own housing, so they gave him temporary transitional housing for him to be able to recover and get back to his life. And he was very appreciative of this. This is you can't read it, of course. It's a page out of the Changing Times magazine, which is Back Bay's publication. So that's another good story. For every 8 or 10 failures, there's a couple of good stories, and this is one of them. One of the things I like to do is I like to clean up around the campus where there's a lot of homeless. see a lot of garbage. It's just what happens. So I found this black and yellow item on the grounds, and Rachel, the day center coordinator, is modeling it for me. That is a bedroll made out of Dollar General shopping bags. So you can see how ingenious some of these people are in fabricating things for themselves to be able to survive out on the streets. And there are actually charities that manufacture, that produce these things for the homeless and pass them out. So I thought that was interesting. Oh, one word about Raisha. This woman here, she works the Michael Day Center during the day from 8 to 2 o'clock or whatever it is. She helps run a laundry, she cleans the shower, she checks people in, works very hard. Then she starts her real job. Back Bay, like other missions, don't pay a lot. She is a UPS dispatcher on second shift. So she works essentially 2 full-time jobs. This one is out of love, mainly because it doesn't pay anything. But this is one of the hardest working women I've ever met in my life. Side story besides her.
So, and here we are at the clothing closet again, which did not look like this when I got there. But that's always my goal, is to kind of streamline that for them so they can work more efficiently. Because how it works is they fill out a form of, what is needed, this size jean, a sweatshirt, a coat, toothbrush, deodorant, whatever. And then, you hand them this piece of paper, and Miss Joyce is her name. And so I try to make it as efficient as possible for her so she can go and just grab those things that she needs. And you could not see any carpet on the floor when I got there, but that was my goal, to be able to see the carpet when I left, so got that done. And these are the 2 ladies that I work with, Miss Joyce and Raisha, and we have a lot of fun together. And you know how it is when you're in a workplace and it's not fun and it's just a bad day at work and you're like, oh, But they try to make it as fun as possible, and we try to laugh a lot and have a good time. And we really enjoy each other when we're there, and they also enjoy each other when I'm not there, but it's a good time. Where did your money go? This is where your money went, pretty typical, just like in years past. Coffee, laundry detergent, underwear, sugar, bleach, nothing overly exciting. Eggs, canned meat, deli meat, frozen meats, things like that. Just like your regular grocery shopping list. The list, okay. So when I get there on Monday, I say, my church has this much money to give you. Because my church is a working church, my people from my church want to give the money to you to make your day better. They don't want to give it to the board, and the board's like, oh, well, you might get this or you might get that. My church wants you to have this money today for what do you need. So they give me a wish list, and we were able to get everything on this list, which is pretty much right there. Some luxury items or some fancy items that cost a little bit more that at first I wasn't able to get. Milk, cheese, hamburger, ground pork, chicken parts, things like that. But then some of my good friends will text in, so how's your week going? What do you need? Or someone will just run into me, like, oh, you and Dan are getting ready to go? Here's some cash for you. So even people from our church aren't giving, or are giving. And it made it possible for me to go get those fancy items, milk, cheese, hamburger, meat, things like that. So it was, I appreciate all of you.
So I spent a few minutes with the case manager there, and I asked her, what are the causes of homelessness? And you can, see them here: death, spouse, divorce, loss of job, addiction, mental health issues, domestic violence, incarceration. It's really hard to get out of homelessness once you're into it. No one wants to be homeless. That's a myth, everybody. Some people might think, oh, some people want to be homeless. No one wants to be homeless. Some people may think that the safest way to live is homelessly, because they don't feel safe around other people. but no one wants to be homeless. Spell that myth right now. And just briefly, wage increases, rental price index, housing price index. So Mr. Anybody, everybody knows this. Housing costs, whether you're renting or owning, everybody has kids and has apartments. You know how much it costs to live. These folks can't afford anything down there.
Okay, so again, Dan and I thank you for listening to us and donating for this. And remember, this is not just our mission, this is a UCC mission. And, you know, we don't know how much longer we're going to be doing this, but until then, you know, just keep making your donations and we'll keep going down there and doing good work. And Dan wanted me to say, if you want to be cool like us, then you should come to Biloxi.
You don't have to go when we go or do what we do. Just go and do something.
And remember, so today, if you want your money to go towards Back Bay, to put it in this little white envelope, which is in the front of you, in the pew in front of you. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you so much. So much.
Come down and watch.